Alright, so tonight we're going to do two chapters in Tehilim, Psalms, chapters Tzadik Hey and Tzadik Bab, 95 and 96. Relatively they're short, not too difficult, but they're very exciting because they deal with the future, they deal with the Messianic era, the Mashiach will come, how it will be a completely different world. In many, many ways, we will not be able to recognize it. The Segula, the special power of this chapter, doesn't appear to have anything to do with the chapter, but apparently it's significant, and it's for one not to be misled by the peoples where he lives. If one is happening to be living in a place where the inhabitants are not too good, where he is in constant danger of becoming tameh, becoming impure. This is a chapter that can help protect him from that tumah.
Not to be slave?
Not to become influenced or misled by the tumah of the place where he's living. This chapter, the next ones, actually several of them, will be very familiar to you because we say them Friday night. The reason why we say it is because the great Kabbalist Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, who by the way was the brother-in-law of Rav Shlomo El Kabbatz. Shlomo is the one that composed Lechadodi. So he put together these chapters of Tehilim also to be said Friday night, because Shabbat is the time that the Malchut, the reign of Hashem, is more felt, it is more emphasized, and because of that, these chapters that deal with the Malchut of Hashem are very befitting to be said during that time. This particular chapter in some ways is a continuation from last chapter. The last pasuk, if you recall, of the last chapter dealt with the destruction of the evildoers, of the Reshaim. And it may appear that we're happy about that. And it's very important to point out, we've said it various times, that we are never happy for the destruction of human beings, even if they are evildoers. What we're happy about, what we rejoice, is that we were saved. We were spared their fate. We were protected by Hashem. So therefore, right after we finish saying that Hashem will destroy them, that is part of the Messianic process, where there is revenge upon the evildoers, we will come and let us sing to Hashem, let us raise our voices in jubilation. To who? To the Tzur. Tzur is the rock of our deliverance. Rock is a term that is used to describe Hashem various times. That which is solid, that which is constant. He was always there for us. Nothing made him change his mind. Nothing moved him from that spot. It's a rock of protection. It's solid. And this will be a time when we will all gain a lot of clarity. And that will be something that will pretty much come naturally to us. We will all want to sing. And it's not only we, as you will see later on, the nations of the world will come to that realization too. And even plant life, the trees. It will be an incredible time. And therefore I can see these chapters, along with obviously the rest of Tehilim, as a very powerful infusion. It stimulates those people who are perhaps very sad, depressed, disappointed, and they don't know, what's going to be with them. Life is not simple. They have their ups and downs. There's a lot of things that help us understand just a little bit that what is happening around us is ultimately for the good. Hashem is watching over us. No reason to fear, no reason to doubt Him. People's faith, even though they may have faith, is greatly strengthened by these words. As long as, of course, they say them and they understand what they're saying. Especially when we're talking about Mashiach, it's very exciting. I think if people would just pay a little bit more attention, not only to the words of the prophets, but to Tehilim, and in how he describes the Messianic era, I think they would be very, very excited. If they were in a bad mood, they would become a lot more happier as a result of these words. So we're talking about a time that everyone will call to each other, Lechu, come, and let us sing. The time has come for us to go to the Bet HaMikdash that will be rebuilt, to the temple, and to sing together, to praise Hashem, and to thank Him for everything. And who are we thanking? Letzur Yish'enu, to the rock of our deliverance. In other words, we're emphasizing it's our deliverance that we're happy with, not the downfall of the Reshaim. Everything here is dealing with the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty, has always been the one that saved us in the past, and that is the one that will save us in the future. So we are talking about it right now, but it could be any day that this will happen. And therefore we're confident that in the same way that He helped us in the past, He will come to help us and redeem us in the very near future. So how will we express our thanks to Hashem? Well, today we say prayers, we sing, but there's a very special way to say thanks to Hashem by bringing a korban todah, a sacrifice of thanksgiving. That is what was done during the time of the temple. Very special sacrifice. A woman that gave birth had what to thank about. That she has a healthy baby, that she's healthy. People who have come out of jail have what to be thankful about. There are all kinds of situations that we're very thankful, and it's important to express that in public, so that others should realize that a miracle happened, or that they should learn from it to thank themselves as well for anything that happens in their life. But this will be done when the Bet HaMikdash will be rebuilt, again with a sacrifice, a korban todah. A korban todah, a sacrifice of thanksgiving, is an expression of appreciation, that we don't take anything for granted. It's not just words. I mean, words are very nice, but it's an actual maaseh, it's an actual deed. There's effort involved, not just in buying something, but in coming to the Bet HaMikdash and in recognizing that. So this will be a time that we will approach Him. We will approach Him with thanksgiving, and of course we will raise our voices to Him in song. The Leviim will play their instruments. It will be a very, very happy time for everyone. But this will be a time to thank Hashem for everything, not just for one thing that had just recently occurred, but for the entire time that the Jewish people went through, the exile, their history. They have a lot to think about. And at the time, perhaps we may not have had the opportunity to thank Him. We may not have realized the miracles that He has performed for us. Then we will know. We will realize everything that has happened was only for the good. There will be so much to thank Him about. So here, the fact that it's talking about that this is something that we will be doing, we will do this in the future, shows that we have bitachon, that we are completely confident that this will happen. Very important idea, because you have actually people who doubt this. Will this ever happen? Will Mashiach ever come? These words are being written so long ago, and they show complete bitachon, and that's what He wants us to have. Have complete faith and trust in Him that this will happen. One day you will come out of the exile, one day the Bet HaMikdash will be rebuilt, you'll be going home, and you'll be thanking Him. So this shows complete bitachon in Hashem, complete trust in Hashem, about the future, that this will happen. Ki el gadol Adonai melech gadol al kol Elohim. Verse Gimel 3. Hashem is a great God and a great King over all supernal beings. I guess you can translate Elohim. What is He adding here that we don't know? Well, at that time, when Mashiach comes, they will all realize, all the nations of the world, that there's only one power, and He's greater than all of them, and He's the only King. But it says, Melech Gadol al Kol Elohim. Here, Elohim really means powers. All kinds of powers, or what you perceive as powers, are really not power. They're nothing. As He will say later on, all they are Elilim. They don't have any significance whatsoever. People just paid their dues, as they say, respected them, worshipped them, but they will only then realize that this is completely nothing. This is nonsense. Hashem is the only one, and He's greater than all of them. In what way is He greater than all of them? So if you look at verse 3, it talks about Ki El Gadol Hashem. And then it says Melech Gadol Al Kol. In other words, it's like dividing the verse into two. As I've told you many times, there's no extra words here necessarily. I mean, each word or each sentence adds something. Hashem is great in more than one way. Hashem is great bayecholet ubama'ala shelo. Bayecholet means in his abilities. Ki El Gadol, he's a God, in his abilities. But it also says Melech, in his ma'amad, in his status, in his ma'ala, in his level. There are other kings too, you may claim. Yes, it's true. And there even is a blessing that we say when we see a king. That Hashem has given from his honor to a Melech Basar Vadam, to a mortal king. So we recognize this. But Melech Gadol al Koloim. But he's on top of everyone. So this is something that is not completely understood today, because his Malchuto, in other words, his Malchut in this world, his reign, is not clearly seen. Those who are in power really believe that they are in charge. They really believe that they make all the decisions, that they are the ones that control their country. They don't realize the verse in Shlomo Melech tells us in Mishleh, Lev melachim v'sarim b'yad Hashem. Did you know that the hearts of kings and princesses is in the hands of Hashem? He manipulates them. He can make them make a certain decision that is against their wishes. If they want to wage war, Hashem can stop them from waging war. Obviously, even though they're kings and they're in the hands of Hashem, they do have some degree of free will. Otherwise, why was Paro punished if he's in the hands of Hashem? Of course they have free will, but for major events to happen, it's all in the hands of Hashem. So they don't see that. They will see it then, that everything is up to Him. See, when we talk about Hashgachat Hashem in this world, it's a very tricky subject, because you have people who may believe in God, even non-Jews, but they don't know to what extent Hashem has control over everything that happens in this world. Chassidut teaches that even if a leaf falls down from a tree, it's all b'gzerat Hashem. Hashem decreed so. Now, it doesn't mean that Hashem necessarily said at that second, let the leaf fall off the tree. But it means that it's under Hashem's jurisdiction, if you can use that word. Hashem decides yes or no. So sometimes He just lets certain things happen, but it's up to Him. It can be directly instructed by Hashem. If Hashem for some reason wants something to happen at that second, it will happen. So all that hashgacha, all that divine providence and supervision from Hashem on this earth is not very well understood. We have somewhat of a better idea because we relate to this in the Torah, in the Nevi'im, in the Gemara. We study about this. And even then, people who are very observant and learned do not fully comprehend what it means. Trust in Him. Smoch alav. Just trust in Him for everything. We have free will. Of course, we can conduct ourselves how we wish and do sometimes the wrong thing too. But He manages the world. What happens to us in the end, that which is not within our abilities to decide, it's not up to our free will, He decides. And this will all come out. When Mashiach comes, we will realize that all the events in the world, as in a chess game, the pieces, He was moving them around. This country will fight this country. Not that He wants them to fight necessarily. He's not necessarily calling upon them to fight, but He's letting this happen. He's bringing it about. He's facilitating it because of some consequences that need to happen in the world. And sometimes it sounds, like, oh, what a shame that there's war. But the Pasuk says, Hashem ish milchama. God is a man of war. What does that mean? I mean, He's the one that leads the wars. He's the one that lets them happen. Something which is hard to believe. Why would He want the war to begin with? Obviously, it must have some consequence that Hashem wants to take place. So when Mashiach comes, we will understand why was there a World War I? Why was there a World War II? So much loss of life. Of course, people are evil. Of course, human beings have some free will. Yes, but why did Hashem let it happen? Why didn't he interfere and stop it and destroy the evil powers right then and there? Certain things have to happen. And then, when Mashiach comes, we will see that he's above everyone else. Everything is in his hand. Including the following. Asher biyado mechkrei aretz v'to'afot harim lo. Very interesting verse. In his hands are the depths of the earth. V'to'afot harim lo, and the heights of the mountains. The words mechkrei aretz and to'afot are not very common. Even though they're understood, they're not very difficult words. But why would we want to say that Hashem has control over the depth? But what kind of depth? The word mechkereh means the depth that is researched, that is investigated, that people are totally unaware of. It requires mechkar, it requires investigation. It requires scientists to go there. Could you have any idea what this is just by reading the book? So you would think Hashem knows everything. If you look a little bit more into the verse, you will notice that there are extremes here. Mechkrei aretz on the one hand, the depth, and on the other hand, the other extreme is the heights of the mountains. Well, what's the big deal about the heights of the mountains? That Hashem rules over the heights of the mountains? So if we don't think about Him, we just go over it. It's a chaval, it's a shame, it's our loss if we don't ponder a little bit this point a little bit more. And even though the commentaries tell us, yes, Hashem knows everything, and even that which people do not know at all, it still doesn't do justice. Think a little bit more, what could it be? Well, my humble opinion is as follows. Since a lot of this is talking about the end of days, talking about Mashiach, at the time of Mashiach and beforehand, the generations before, humanity will have advanced a lot, technologically wise, scientifically wise. They will have great abilities. And one of those abilities would be to actually send a unmanned submarine down to the depths of the oceans where no man can go. And eventually, actually, they may be able to send human beings as well, because depending on how they build that capsule, I think actually they've done that. But there's a place called the Mariana Trench, the deepest spot on Earth. It's about 32,000 feet beneath the ocean. It was down there below. We would not survive. The pressure is too strong. Originally, I believe that they sent a unmanned capsule, an unmanned vehicle, I guess you can call it, and just to see what's there. They were surprised that even at those depths they were able to see certain creatures living down there below. Later on, I think they've sent, on one or more occasions, somebody. I think they got pretty close to that depth. Very difficult to get there. No reason really to get there. Most life is a lot higher than that, aquatic life. Fish, even though some whales go further down, and some, I guess, life can be found very, very deep, but so deep down below, there's barely anything. It's very dark. So man has gone there. Man has investigated. Man has gone to great depths in the oceans and has gone to great heights. What great heights? Well, as you know, Mount Everest is the tallest mountain. If you count from sea level, a little over 29,000 feet high. At that point, you can't breathe very well. Maybe for a few seconds. And after that, you blank out. There's not enough oxygen. And you have to prepare yourself. Even if you go up there and you're equipped with oxygen, you have to prepare yourself to go that height. Quickly is very dangerous. A lot of people have died going up so high, especially if they went quickly. Besides the storms and all the other dangers, the weather up there. But people have not gone so high, as far as we know. Most have not. They would have no reason to go. So here, we're reading about a pasuk that says Hashem controls everything from the depth to the great heights. He's basically telling us that Hashem is everywhere, even though human beings cannot be everywhere. Well, you might tell me, well, we just got to the moon. Yes, that's true. And from that, man should realize something. if you are able to reach to the moon, can you imagine what God can do? He's the one, He created you. As we said last week, if man has an ear and he has an eye, Hashem for sure, the one who formed the eye and the formed the ear, can hear and can see. So if man has been able to achieve such great prowess in sending a human being to space, then perhaps he should take a closer look at this space. Because from down here below you don't see as much or as clear as what you see from up there. With these great telescopes, the same thing. You can now see and appreciate the creation a lot more and realize who made all of this, who created all of this. So this is what we will hopefully have clarity, that Hashem has knowledge of everything. It's a continuation, basically, that Hashem has made everything, has made the oceans, and His hands have formed the dry land. It's pretty much a continuation that He has made everything. It's not that there's some independent power in the ocean and another one in the Yabeshet. It's all His creation. And if one were to, of course, analyze the creatures of the sea, the creatures of the land, he would see tremendous design in everything and how they're all connected. The rabbis tell us that whatever we have on land, we have in the sea, with a few exceptions. So you have a seahorse. It looks like a horse. It's an interesting detail that they point out, that there's like a replica of what is by Yabeshet, a land, also in the sea for some reason. And you can notice this in a lot of the life that is in the ocean, that there's some resemblance to the life on the ground. So there's one designer, it's one creator. He made all of this. And there's a lot of things out there that are really beautiful, even though they may be poisonous. Things that they're only discovering today because they've gone to pretty much every spot on earth, and they have seen all kinds of creatures that man was not aware of them from the past. You have an octopus, for example, that has blue rings on it. Beautiful creature, but very poisonous, very dangerous. All the time they discover new things that they didn't know existed. So all of this Hashem made. Therefore, upon knowing all of this, let us come and prostrate ourselves, bow down, let us bend the knee before Hashem, who has made us. Okay? At that point, no one will believe in evolution anymore, that you came from a monkey, it was a big bang all by itself. People will realize Hashem Osenu. But if you look at the pasuk, you examine the words, you will ask yourself, wait a minute, what's the difference between nishtachave, nichra'a, and nivrecha? They all mean the same thing, more or less. Nishtachave means to prostrate. I think in English the best word for it to be to prostrate, which, according to most opinion, means completely down on the floor, hands down as well. Whereas nichre'a is what we do in the prayer. We bow down. Okay? We, I guess, just put our head down. Nivrecha means that we bend with our knees to the ground. Not completely like ishtachavaya. So what's the difference? Why mention all three? There is a difference. At the time when Mashiach comes, the ishtachavaya, the prostrating completely, will indicate Shanachnu mevatlim et atzmenu. We annul ourselves before Him. We realize that we are powerless. We're completely His. He created us. He gave us life. We're not really completely independent. We didn't just make ourselves. So the ishtachavaya is a very humble expression of our complete submission to Him. Nichra'a, bowing down, is an expression of kavod, of respect, similar to what the Japanese do. Bowing down the head, a sign of respect. It's not enough to just know He created you. No, it's very nice that you know, but do you respect Him? So the nichre'a is an expression of respect. Nivrecha, so what could be kneeling down mean? Possibly, I didn't see anybody explain this way, but I'm just using the common sense based on what the meaning of the words are. Putting the knees down on the floor is a way of showing our dependency in Hashem, that we want to pray to Him, we want to worship Him, because we realize we are dependent and need Him. So all forms of expressions of our realization that He not only created the world, but we need Him, and we should appreciate that. Next verse. כי הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו עם מריתו וצאן ידו היום בקולו תשמעו. Very important pasuk. Pasuk Zayin. For He is our God, our Lord, and we are His flock. Marito. Marito is the one that actually He tends, He shepherds us. Tzon yado, the flock under His hand. Ayom, this very day. Im bekolo tishma'u, if you would just listen to His voice. Okay, He's our God, we know that He shepherds us, or He tends to us. Somewhat we know because He's watched over us. We're tzon yado, we are His flock. But He adds the words Hayom im bekolo tishma'u, today, and if you hearken or listen to Him. These last words is the key to understanding this pasuk. Only today? Only if we listen to Him? Yes. In order to be considered His flock, where the supervision is very, very good, it's on condition. It always has been. Condition on im bekolo tishma'u. So if you have any questions about why we, as a people, as a nation, we suffered from time to time, is perhaps because we were not bekolo tishma'u. We didn't listen to Him. And all you have to do is read it, Parshat Bechukotai, read the various Parshiot that talk or describe what will happen if we don't observe the mitzvot. Instead of trying to figure out who to blame, learn the Torah and you will see you only have yourself to blame. So this somewhat explains to us that the relationship that we have with Him, even though it's forever, because He vowed, He made a promise that He will never abandon us, it does not mean that it will always be smooth sailing. In bekolo tishma'u. Important idea, and sometimes people don't understand this very well because they think that if they're going through a painful situation, they must have done something wrong. That's where it becomes a little complicated, because it does not always mean if something is happening to you in your life that you must have done something wrong and angered Hashem and now He's punishing you. Not necessarily. It could mean all kinds of things. It could have something to do with a previous lifetime. It could be a test. We don't know. We just have to understand that it's from Shamayim. It must be for the good. There is a reason for it, obviously. And I must do everything I can to pray to Him that He should resolve this problem for me. Not just say, well, that's the way I have to live, then I'll just accept it and just go on with it. No. You actually have an opportunity to turn to Him and pray, to seek relief from Him. People who have not had children, people who have not been married, they prayed and Hashem answered their prayers. There are many, many miracles. So it's sometimes confusing because here we're being told that our relationship with Hashem is conditioned, and it is. It's very much conditioned on if we observe the mitzvot. On the other hand, don't assume that if something painful and challenging is happening in your life, that it's because you haven't listened to Him. However, if a person does admit, I haven't been listening to Him, then that's the first place to start, to correct things, even before prayer. Perhaps you need to correct something that you yourself are aware of that needs immediate correction. Then, of course, pray. These last words, however, have great significance for the future. As we're going to soon see in the next few verses, He's going to tell us, watch out, don't repeat the mistakes of the past, especially as you get closer to Mashiach. And therefore He tells us, you want to know when Mashiach will come? That was the question of Yeshua ben Levi asked Mashiach. He met Mashiach, the great rabbi of Yeshua ben Levi. Sir, when are you coming? He said, Hayom. He said, today. He met up with Elyahu Navi, Elyahu the prophet. This Mashiach, I think, lied to me. He said he's coming today, he hasn't come. He says, you did not understand what he meant. He said, Hayom im bekolot ishma'u. Read the verse, read the rest of the verse. He's basically quoting this. I will come today if you listen to me. So if we behave like his flock and we listen to him, Mashiach would come right away. The commentaries explain that if all of Am Yisrael, and I'm assuming the majority, would do teshuvah, Mashiach will come right away. Hayom, today. There's no reason to delay it. There's another source about keeping Shabbat. They would keep 2 Shabbatot. The majority of the Jews, Mashiach will come. In other words, if there would be some sign from the Jewish people that they want to go back, they really want it, they regret their sins, something would happen. Something definitely would happen. It would awaken Midat HaRachamim, the attribute of mercy, and Mashiach would come right away. So this is a very important concept here. Hayom im bekolot tishma'u. Al takshu levavchem ki meriva ki yom asa b'midbar. So now he goes back in time. What you have to be careful from, even though this in general applies to all times, but it's especially sensitive and critical right before Mashiach comes. Be careful, verse 8. Do not harden your heart as you did in Merivah, was in the day you did in Massa, in the wilderness, in the desert. If you know the history of the Jewish people when they were 40 years in the desert, you know what this is talking about. That there were episodes where we hardened our heart, where we questioned Moshe, questioned Hashem, where we had our doubts. That's known as Massa and Merivah. Various episodes, but those are the two that stand out because we hardened our heart. Hardened our heart meaning that we questioned everything. We had doubts about the whole mission. Not that we had doubt whether Hashem exists. Of course Hashem exists. We realized that right away. They believed in God. But they questioned Him. Where's the water? Where's the food? Why is it so hard? Let's go back to Egypt. We're upset. And then the spies tell us, oh, you're going to have a hard time conquering the land of Israel. And of course, all of that was not good. That negative news, by the way, was fake news too. That discouraged them. It made them fearful. They lost hope. Why is God sending us to our death? So there were a lot of incidents in the desert, and they were not too good. But why did they occur? I must, give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's what he's going to say. On the one hand, it's not completely their fault because they did not know Hashem's ways. They were only learning. But still, even though they did not know Hashem's reasons for everything, why is He holding back water for 3 days? Why? Just give Him water right away. Well, if you thought a little bit more into it, you would realize that in the future you're not going to have open miracles as you have now. And perhaps He's asking you to turn to Him. He's teaching you that when you don't have something, you pray. Haven't you thought about that? Perhaps that's the reason why He's holding it back from you, not giving it to you right away on a silver platter. He wants you to learn that when you don't have something in the future, when there are no open miracles like now, what are you going to do? You're going to cry and disregard the laws and say, oh, no more Judaism? No, you pray. So Hashem is warning us, before Mashiach comes especially, be careful. Don't harden your heart in the same way that your forefathers did. And they should have known better. Even though they did not know Hashem's ways, they should have known better because they saw so many miracles. And when you don't understand something, what do? You ask. Moshe, do us a favor. You have direct contact with God. Can you ask Him why we don't have water? They cried. They complained. And you see this attitude with human beings all the time. You have a problem with someone? Why don't you sit down and talk to him and ask him what's going on? Instead of complaining, instead of bickering, arguing. So this type of an attitude is very, very bad when we're talking about Hashem. Hashem, we realize that He gave us this life, and He's the one that's been protecting us, and He just took us out of Egypt. How could you behave that way? Don't, therefore, harden your heart the way they did. What did they do? Asher nisuni avotechem bechanuni gam ra'u fa'oli. Verse 9. Your fathers, your forefathers, they tested me, they tried me. Though they had seen my deeds, ra'u fa'oli, they saw. I split the Red Sea for them. What more do you want? What's the difference, however, between nisuni and bechanuni? So if you look at the commentaries, you're not going to get too much help. Nisuni just means tested. Bechanuni means they tried me. So nisuni, to test Hashem, usually has to do with a lack of bitachon and trust in Hashem. Hashem promised you, just believe Him, trust Him. Don't show that you doubt it, you hesitate. I'm not sure, can we really conquer this land? We hear that there are giants there. So what? You just saw what happened to the Egyptian army. You saw miracles. Well, what's the problem here? Bechanuni. They tried me. What's bechanuni? They tried me? Yeah. They didn't appreciate enough what I did for them. What's a good example? The man. Hashem is giving man for 40 years to the people. He's the best caterer. You know what it is to cater to millions of people? Every morning, at the exact same time, fresh man, which was very nutritious and had many, many good qualities. And what did they say later about this man? Lechem hakelokel. Ungrateful. Nashuk. Yeah. Terrible midah to be ungrateful. You were fed, you were taken care of. You want to know what's so special about the man? You can ask Moshe, and he'll give you some more information about how special this food is, that even the angels have something similar to that. So, how come you're ungrateful? So you have nisuni and bechanuni. You have this terrible attitude where the trust is not complete, and bechanuni, they're not appreciative. So they tried me out by complaining. Gam ra'u fa'oli, even though they saw my doings, my deeds. The more a person sees, the more one experiences miracles and sees the wonders of Hashem, and he complains, the greater the kitruk, the accusation will be against him. Perhaps one of the reasons he's telling us to be very careful with this in the Messianic times is because we will once again begin to see such open miracles. Even though there were always miracles, but the miracles of the prophecies coming true in our time. We are beginning to see all kinds of miracles. The 6-Day War was a big miracle. 1948 also. Miracles after miracles. And every soldier in the army could tell you of the miracles that he saw and that he experienced. You saw it. Be careful not to harden your heart, because if you see miracles and you're hardened still, the accusation will be a lot stronger on you. You're not appreciative of this. 40 shana. Akut bedor va'omar am to'ele v'avhem v'hem lo yadu derechai. So for 40 years, akut, one interpretation of the word akut is I quarreled with them. I quarreled with a generation which I can describe as a people of erring hearts. To'e levav. To'e, to err, to be mistaken. Levavim. They're mistaken. They simply don't have proper understanding of why I do certain things. Vehem lo yadu derechai, they don't know my ways. So I've always explained this pasuk to mean that 40 years in the desert was a school where the Jewish people learned a lot. They needed to learn the ways of Hashem, which they were totally not familiar with. But Hashem, in some ways, is upset. Not that Hashem is upset like a human being is upset, but it's a way of describing how sometimes man, through his actions, brings upon him midat hadin, the attribute of justice. You should know better. You've seen so much. It's not right of you to act this way. So, in a sense, he's complaining. These people, lo yad'u derechai, they did not figure out what it is that I want from them. Asher nishbati be'api miv'u mechoti, I therefore vowed through my anger that they would not enter my resting place. They would not enter, as you know, they died in the desert. This nishbat is very, very strong. Hashem made a promise, he vowed through his anger that they will not see my resting place. Very, very powerful. Yes, Because you were taken out of Egypt. You were a slave the other day. You saw the miracles. And you still doubted. You still had hesitations. You weren't grateful. You don't deserve to make it to the final destination called Eretz Israel. There's a lot of explanations as to why this happened to them. In the end, perhaps they would not have been ready to fight the various wars that they needed to fight to conquer the land. Even though they did believe in Hashem, Hashem was upset mainly because they did not appreciate what they saw and learn from that Hashem is in control over everything. However, the rabbis tell us that even though Hashem swore that they will not enter the land, He did not mean it that they will never come back. The rabbis tell us, Yesh lahem chelik l'olam haba, they do have a share to the world to come, and according to another midrash, Moshe Rabbeinu, when he gets up in Tchiyat HaMetim, in the resurrection, he brings them home. Because he, in a sense, did not complete the mission then, he completes the mission now. So when the time comes where Mashiach arrives and Moshe gets up from the first ones, he will also bring with him these people who died in the desert and never made it to Israel back then. So we, who are living in a generation before Mashiach, we need to take note of this and not make the same mistakes that they did, and realize that, yes, Mashiach is coming. We have to be prepared and not harden our heart in any way, but appreciate the fact that hopefully all the terrible wars are behind us, hopefully. And what will come now is the complete ingathering of the diaspora. So we have to be optimistic about it. We have to do whatever it takes to make sure that it happens berachamim, with mercy, and not anymore with pain. We have to help others who may be distant still from observance. Whatever we can to bring this about, if we of course believe in this. Chapter 96. Tzadik Vav. The segula for this perek is to make one's family happy. So if there's a lot of unhappy people in the family, say this chapter, and maybe you'll bring some happiness to them. This is a very happy chapter. It deals with song, a lot of song and praise for Hashem when Mashiach comes. What kind of song? You may have seen that Tehilim is full of songs and praise to Hashem. But the rabbis tell us that there will be a difference between the songs that will be sung when Mashiach comes and the songs that we've been singing all along. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Sing to Hashem a new song. Sing to Hashem the entire earth. So, what do we see from this? When Mashiach comes, the entire earth, everybody will be singing, not just the Jewish people, everybody will be singing to Hashem, as we will soon see, including trees. But Shir Chadash, it will be a new kind of song. What's so new? So the rabbis tell us that in the past, many of the songs were Shira, was feminine. Here it says Shir. Male. Shir is in the male, Shira is in the female. What's the difference? Why is Shira then and now Shir? Rabbis tell us that in the past it was a Shira because in the same way that a woman gets pregnant, gives birth, gets pregnant, gives birth several times, we've had situations where we suffered, but then, Baruch Hashem, we had some peace, but then we suffered again, and then some peace, and suffered and peace. Just like a woman becomes pregnant, delivers, pain, and then delivery. When it comes to Mashiach, no more pain. It would only be therefore a shir, a male, a man does not become pregnant. So that's why it's called a shir, using the male term to describe song. Shira, which was female, represents the female. Pregnant, delivers, pregnant, delivers. But when Mashiach comes, there will be no more tzarot, no more war, no more trouble. So it will be a song using the male description of a song, a shir. And it will be a different kind of a song. Why? Because the world will be chadash. The world will be a completely, pretty much brand new place. Hashem is doing a major remodeling, by the way. Did you know? Major remodel. Things are going to be very different. In what way? That they're going to represent His original blueprint. Hashem had an original blueprint for this world, but because of Chet Adam Harishon, because of the primordial sin, because of humanity's bad behavior, it took a downturn. So the laws of nature are not exactly the way they should be. So Shir Hadash, it's new because it represents a new world. Even though many of the things that we see today will still be there, but it will be a very, very different world in many, many ways. Shiru l'Adonai Baruch Hu Shemo, Baseru miyom liyom Yeshuato. So sing to Hashem, bless His name, and proclaim His deliverance, Yeshuato, miyom liyom, every day, day to day. So this is also very interesting. Sing to Hashem, bless Him, but what's Baseru? Proclaim His deliverance from day to day. As the Mashiach approaches, we are going to sense it. We're going to know it. And you will notice, more than ever, that Baseru miyom liyom, that people are talking about Mashiach is coming. You know that? Anashim yivasru echad b'sheni. People will tell each other, Baseru miyom liyom. From day to day, Yeshuato is coming. 200 years ago, I don't think you heard people saying Mashiach is coming. You would have heard, Ani Ma'amin. I believe He can come every day. That's true. Every day He could come. But I think everyone here knows this, that Baseru miyom liyom. If you follow at least certain sources in the media, you will notice that they talk a lot about Mashiach. The non-Jewish world is just talking about the end of the world. To them, the end of the world could mean all kinds of things. The end of the world is coming, they say. Yeah, but what does that mean? There's going to be a big asteroid that's going to come crashing down, some people think. Life is going to finish. Or doomsday. It's going to be a World War III, and that's going to finish. People do not understand what it means, but they're sensing. They're sensing that the end is coming. So he says, sing, be happy, talk about it, because Yeshuato, the coming of Mashiach, is real. It's coming very, very soon. Saperu v'goyim kevado b'chol amim nifleotav. Verse Gimel 3. Recount His glory amongst the nations, b'chol amim nifleotav, among all the people recount His wonders. So this is a very good thing to do, is to share the miracles and wonders amongst the nations of the world. What for? Well, first of all, bring it to their attention. Don't you see this is happening? To convince them of the truth of this. Plus, as the verses later on say, that even though the nations, and some of them may have belief in God, they don't have necessarily the fear of God. So the importance of retelling, recounting miracles is to instill in them that fear that they should have as well. Look, this is what God is capable of doing. Look what He did. So to instill that fear, that respect, that awe for Hashem, recount those miracles amongst them. I wanted just to add an additional detail that perhaps at that time, at that generation, the nations of the world will be a little bit more receptive to this. Even though up until now there have been a lot of people who subscribed to evolution, they don't believe in a God. As we get closer, I think that a lot of that is going to weaken. If people are going to come to that realization, there must be this power, there must be a God. And people will be perhaps more receptive. So when you hear about teshuvah amongst the Jewish people, repentance, people coming back to the roots, if you look further, you will notice that there's some degree of teshuvah, if you can call it that, amongst the non-Jews as well. Some of them just want to believe, want to strengthen their connection to God, want to pray. Some of them convert because they have this divine spark that is attracting them to this holiness, something that they perceive as holy. So obviously they feel a strong pull in this direction. All of this is happening now more than before. Even though you've had converts in the past too, you've had people doing teshuvah, but now it's going to be in waves. And I'm continuously surprised to hear more and more, especially in Latin America, people who want to come closer to this at various levels of closeness, either because they have Jewish roots, that may be the reason, or because there's something awakening them that they don't even realize where it's coming from. It's coming from Hashem. It's coming from the fact that we're getting closer to Mashiach. So the sheker is collapsing. That which is false is falling apart. And people are able to see, but wait a minute, this is all silly. There is a God. So people will come to this in different ways. So share with them the miracles. This may help them too. Ki gadol Adonai umehulal me'od v'norahu al kol Elohim. Verse 4. Hashem is great and highly praised. Norahu, He's great. Al kol Elohim, over all I guess we can translate it over here, above all gods, even though there are no other gods, but that's one translation. Meaning that even though other nations would have had some belief in some God of theirs, they will come to that realization, Hashem is the greatest of all. Of course, He's the only one. When we say the greatest of all, don't make the mistake of thinking, yes, but there are others as well. No, He's the only one. But here He says it in a way that the non-Jewish world will come to that realization, that He's greater than everything else that they have believed so far in the past. Something that they never realized exists. Because even though a lot of them knew about a creator, they didn't know to what extent He rules or controls that which is down here below. That He's involved. You can pray to Him. He's aware of everything. He records everything, documents all of man's actions. All of this is details that people are not aware of. We are taught this. Judaism teaches that, so we have that information. God is greater than everything else, than anything else that we've known. Ki kol Elohei ha'amim elilim, b'adonai shamayim asa. For all the gods of the nations are nothing. Elilim here means nothing. There's nothing to them. And Hashem has made the heavens. Hashem made everything. Why point this out over here? People have been under the impression that, okay, a human being is from Hashem. Life is given to us by Hashem. Yeah. But all the stars, the galaxies, billions of them, where did all that come from? What is the purpose of all of that? That they don't have an answer for. When He tells us over here that everything else is nothing, and Hashem made the Shamayim, He's reminding us why the nations of the world make a mistake to begin with, to worship the stars as they did in the past, and that is what led to idolatry. They thought that these are powerful servants of God, and eventually they forgot about the master and only remembered about the servants. Hashem made them too. See, all those galaxies, they have a purpose too. You may not know what the purpose of a galaxy is. I have a whole lecture about that. Why did Hashem make stars and galaxies? What purpose do they serve? But at this point in time, they will realize Hashem made everything. Even those powers that we thought were independent of Him, they're not independent. Even though there's something out there, the Shamayim, which includes everything in the Shamayim, He made them. Hod ve'adar lefanav os v'tiferet b'mikdasho. Majesty and splendor are before Him, might and beauty are in His sanctuary. So, some commentaries tell us that this is referring to the angels, the Hod and Hadar, the splendor that they receive from Him. Or it means that Hod ve'Hadar lefanav, all around Him this tremendous beauty and splendor and majesty, because everything shows something about the Creator. There's like a fingerprint of Hashem in everything. So all His Hod, all His Hadar, all that beauty and splendor is everywhere before Him. Oz v'tiferet b'mikdasho, and the might and the beauty in His sanctuary. Which sanctuary? So some say sanctuary in the upper worlds, where He is, of course, known by all the angels. No problems whatsoever. They realize this. Or it's talking about the new Bet HaMikdash that will be rebuilt. You will find that Oz v'tiferet, that splendor, that majesty, in the physical Bet HaMikdash down here below. So even though we may not be able to reach out to the heavens and see all that there is up there, but you will be able to see it in the Bet HaMikdash when it's rebuilt. So take a look around as much as possible and admire the handiworks of Hashem. Because that's what this pasuk is telling you. His majesty, His splendor are everywhere before Him, and they will be seen with our physical eyes in the sanctuary, in the Bet HaMikdash. So now he talks to the nations of the world, and he says, Havu, give or render. Families of nations, render to the Lord, render to Hashem honor and might. Kavod va'oz. So it's interesting that he uses the word mishpechot amim over here, the families of the nations. It could be because the nations of the world are not united. They're all separate. We are one. And he's pointing out a fact that the Jewish people have stayed one. They did not assimilate, they did not mingle. We're one. We're not mishpechot, many families. But there is a medrash, I believe, that says that Mashiach will be very much respected. The nations of the world will come and bring gifts to him. And as we said in another chapter, Mashiach is going to ask them, if you want to bring me a gift, do you have any mishpachot? Do you have any Jews amongst you? Bring them to me. Bring them back to me. So that is another explanation of why he uses here the word mishpachot. So why does it say the word havu? Havu Hashem. In other words, honor him. Honor him because the honor only goes to him and not to anything else. How will we show that honor? Havu Adonai kevod shemo seumin chavol chasotav. Show that honor to him by coming to his courtyard, by giving honor to his name that deserves to be honored. Seumincha. Bring an offering. Come to his courtyard. So the Bet HaMikdash, come. You will want to honor him? Come. And they will come. So this is all in the future. They will come to the Bet HaMikdash and honor Hashem and bring offerings. And bow down to him in resplendent holiness. Tremble before him, all the earth. This is a description of the time when the entire world will not only begin to give kavod to Hashem, not only respect, not only admire, not only recognize him, but show it with reverence for him and with fear. Chilu mipanav kol haaretz is a very important detail over here because some of them may know him but not fear him. As I said earlier, they will learn to fear him and not fear anyone else. Verse 10, proclaim amongst the nations the Lord reigns. Hashem is, in other words, the king. The world is firmly established that it shall not falter. Hashem malach aftikon tevel batimot yadin amim v'mesharim, and he will judge the peoples with righteousness. Also a very interesting verse that reminds us that when Mashiach comes, not only will Hashem be made king, but they will realize that this king is different. Aftikon tevel batimot, he never allowed the world to falter. Other kings would not care if they destroyed other peoples, other nations. Aftikon tevel baltimot, he made sure this king is very, very special and cares. He made sure that the world does not falter. Yadin amim v'mesharim, and he will judge everyone fairly with righteousness, according to what is coming to them. A regular human, a regular mortal king would not act in this way. This relationship that he's calling on the non-Jewish world, this relationship with God, with Hadat Kodesh, is also important for the following reasons. A lot of people fear God because they fear punishment. When we talk about the fear of God, Hadat Kodesh, we're saying it's not because of the punishment, it's because of what he represents. It's because of the Kedusha. That will be Chilu, that will be the fear that the entire world will have for him. Even though Chilu means tremble, but it will be a different kind of trembling, in realizing that Hashem judges everybody b'mesharim with righteousness. So he's a fair God. It's a different kind of fear from him. It's a better type of fear. The heavens will rejoice, the earth will exult, and even the sea, the fullness, will roar. As I said earlier, everything in creation will be happy. Why? What's going to happen then that the whole creation, the ocean, the trees, the next verse, the fields of everything will jubilate, all the trees of the forest will sing, What for? Well, everything has life in this world, some form of life. And all those forms of life recognize that there is a God. At that time, when Hashem brings back the original blueprint, everything will be restored to what it should have been all along, where everything is blessed and not cursed. So the rabbis tell us that even atzei hayar, the trees in the forest that don't bear fruit, they will also bear fruit. The weather will be perfect. Everything will just go back to being what it should have been. That's why everybody will be happy. There will always be rain and not, chas v'shalom, a lack of rain, drought. All of this is not good. It's not a good sign. But when there's blessing, everything will be going back to what it should have been. So everybody will be happy, even the trees. Bifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz. And this, of course, will be before Hashem that they shall rejoice. Kiva. It says twice, kiva. One will be the revelation of Hashem. One will be that He will be king. So that's why it says kiva. Before Hashem, they will all rejoice. He will judge the world, yishpot tevel b'tzedek, with justice, and the nations with His truth. Because of His justice, of course, will be something that is 100% true. No questions asked, no problems with it, no corruption as today. Judges don't know everything. Hashem knows everything. Hashem will judge everyone. Hashem at that point will decide who will live and who will not, who will have a share to the world to come and who not. And even those that rise in Tchiyat HaMetim, we are told that at that point there will be Yom Adin Gadol V'Norai, will be the final day of justice, which will determine, even though you got up now to see all of that glory of Hashem, it doesn't mean that you stay around for Olam Haba. Hashem will decide that when the time comes. Just want to add one little point that I think we missed. Just want to add, earlier when we talked about a Yom, how important it is to recognize the fact that we have a conditioned relationship with Hashem. What is the word Hayom adding? Today. Of course, today. Rabbis tell us every day should be looked at separately. A lot of times people have a hard time when they see so much that they need to accomplish ahead of them. Take one day at a time. This will help you in managing what you need to accomplish. Every day is separately. Plus, Hayom is also to be understood, don't push off things for another time either, because what about today? You want to accomplish whatever there is to accomplish today. You don't want to let that day go. Every day has something that needs to be accomplished. Every day needs to be rectified somehow. We don't want to waste our time. We want to accomplish something. So, as the time comes closer to Mashiach, we are told, do as much as you can now, because when Mashiach comes and everything is so clear and obvious to everyone, it will be too late to do Teshuvah. This is the time that you want to do it. You want to realize that the time is fast approaching where Hashem will appear. The whole world will know it. There will be no Yetzer Hara, there will be no evil inclination, there will be no more war. And that is why nobody will fear anyone, that he has to have an atomic bomb. Oh, I may be attacked. They will only fear him. So that is the emphasis over here, that the nations of the world will take a note that there's only one king. Therefore, why worry about anything else? Let's just make sure that we do His will and everything will be okay.